the Crystal Crawford Show. Oh my God, we're here again. We get to do this again this week. So I'm so thrilled to do this for you. I just want you to know that if you're, no matter where you're listening or watching from, I just want you to know how grateful I am for you. And also my headphones aren't plugged in. So let's try this sound. How grateful I am for you. Excuse me. And how much you guys have contributed to me by listening and receiving from these crazy ideas I have every single week to talk with you about. So just thank you. And my ask is that if you've gotten anything out of this and you tell your friends, we just absolutely cannot build this without you. And so let them know that this friggin' crazy show exists. I'd be so grateful. If you want to head over even to iTunes and leave a review, God, that'd be awesome too, but whatever. I am so grateful for you. Without you, this business, this possibility in the world doesn't exist. You are a part of proliferating it, creating it with me. So just huge gratitude. I call this week's episode the Humanoid Advantage in Business, and I'm going to get into that. I want to give you just a few personal updates because some of you have been wondering. I got LASIK eye surgery about 3 or 4 months ago now. I'm doing great. I can still feel my eyes. They are scratchier and require more fluid than normal, but I have great eye drops and they are getting stronger every day. If you guys are watching me, you see I'm wearing more makeup, which is like delightful for me. So I can do that now. They're a lot less tender, and I'm able now to kind of rub my eyes gently. So all is well in the eye front. My hair is growing. Latin America has invited me to some different choices with hair and makeup and skin. I'm a little more tan. I've got some more fashion going on from Colombia. So I'm just really enjoying having a body. I'm enjoying being me. And I am so grateful that you guys are here for it. So thank you. And I'd love to hear what's going on with you. So tell me everything. Okay, so and here's the other major thing is I am actually writing the first book. So I'm 32,000 words in. My goal is just 50,000, not because it's a right thing or the wrong thing, but just to choose it. And I have been showing up every single morning to write this for you, for me. And I'm thrilled. It's like practically writing itself because honestly, I've been writing this thing for almost 6 years. And so I have been pulling content that I've been writing on for a long time and then adding to it. And so it's just emerging with a lot of ease. Today, with the Humanoid Advantage in Business, I'm actually going to be reading from my book that you will get to have in your hands, hopefully even signed within the year. And I only give myself the rest of the year because it's hard to say how long parts of the process are going to take. And even though I've got basically, I'm going to hit my 50,000 word mark in about 8 days. There's the editing and the other things that it goes through. So today I'm going to be reading something from the book I'm writing, all about humanoid. As I was looking at what I wanted to deliver to you around business, it started to get a little dry for me, honestly. It was like needed lube or something. It is funny. I love doing business. I love creating business. It means I get to engage with you, show up, be a creative, live my best life, meaning I get to live the way I want. There's so many, I wouldn't change it for anything. I wouldn't go get another job if you asked me to, unless I was just contributing, and that's not a job to me. And when I go to talk about it, it gets really contracted. Not always, but today. And I started to look at that and I was like, well, business is one of the distractor implants, meaning it's there to distract you. It's there to take your attention off the choices you really have, to get you into your head. That's its whole purpose. That's business as it's done in this reality is intended to keep you from the choices you really have, from the access you can have to this magical energetic universe. So in that regard, it really works. And you and me and a lot of people I know can easily start doing business. But what I'm choosing more and more of these days, and what I am experiencing as a result of that, is this other reality where you get to thrive, you get to have money, you get to play, you get to choose, you get to be malleable as you are, you get to change your mind, you get to be all the things that you naturally are, and be in business, which out there says is not possible, but out there's not right. You're not right. And what makes that all possible is your humanoid advantage. How's that for a preface? So let me read you something from this book I found that I'm writing. Okay. The chapter is called Humanoid. Humanoid. One who looks like a human, but diverges totally from the way humans function and has a completely other set of abilities and capacities, both body and being. That's the working definition. This topic gets its own chapter because for me, it was one of the conversations that gifted me the most freedom. It's one of the key things to get about how different you are, and the gift of getting it never ends. You are a humanoid, energetic, different. You have the capacity to change at the drop of a hat. You can create in spaces and situations that no one else can. Choose things that most find hard. You're so fast that sometimes no one, including you, can see what you're doing. You pick up on everything around you and have spent most of your life feeling very fucked up. You get bored almost instantaneously, unless it's fascinating for you, and then you're instantly obsessed. Things go in cycles and waves for you. You're very extreme. Creative bursts, obsessions, relationships, jobs. You don't know what forever means, but somewhere you think you should. You're not judgmental, but you think you are. You're kinder than most and care bigger than you let anyone else see, but you've learned that the world isn't a safe place for a soft underbelly. If you've hardened, it's so you can handle feeling so alone, so weird, so fucked up. The only one in the room feeling any of the things you're constantly feeling. You are aware. There's times you feel sad for no reason, angry when someone is talking, depressed when you wake up, irritated at how slow everyone is. And then I go through this list of things that are very humanoid. People tell you to stop being hard on yourself a lot. You berate yourself nonstop for things you've done wrong. You're constantly seeking. And if you're in business, you're constantly seeking, like, what's next? What's next? What else? What's next? That's a natural humanoid thing. You've gotten into alcohol or drugs, or if not those, some other thing to make the head chatter easier. And then on and on and on. You're artistic, you're creative. You've likely said one or more of these to you or someone else. My head's always going, I can't shut it down. There's something really wrong with me. Why can't I just relax and enjoy life like everyone else? I don't think I'm going to have enough money this month. Fuck. Why can't I focus on anything? Why am I always procrastinating? I think I'm depressed. Why can't I just be like everyone else? How does everyone else not see what's going on here? I must be crazy. Am I crazy? I never finish anything. God, what's wrong with me? All signs you're humanoid. And if you looked at those lists from the eyes of a human, you'd be right, you're wrong. Flaky, disabled in some way. Humans judge other people, including people like you. And you've been taught to judge you, and you naturally do. So, and we would never expect a horse to be a cow, but because we haven't been told about the difference in species that we are, we keep expecting ourselves to be exactly like a human. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. And I know it took me 10 minutes to get there, but I think the preface was worth it. You are not human. You are humanoid. And now listen, use your light and heavy with this, right? What's true for you makes you lighter, and what's heavy is a lie. So if that makes you lighter, even if you don't get it, roll with it, and you're going to get something out of it. You're humanoid. So there's all these things that are true about you. You're incredibly creative. You can change instantly. You're very aware. You pick up on subtleties and nuance that nobody else picks up on. You are willing to change at the drop of a hat. You don't have a problem living on quicksand. You change your hair, your clothes, your relationships, your jobs. Likely you've made yourself wrong for that. However, underneath that's the capacity for change. And so if this isn't wrong about you, then what's the advantage it gives you that you haven't fully accessed yet? I go on in this chapter to tell a very humanoid story. You can buy the book to read that because it's a little bit long and great. But the thing that I write about later is that here's some things you need to know about you, though. In addition to all of those abilities, so you have all these abilities. You have the ability for instant change. You have the ability for choice. You have the ability to pick up on subtleties and nuance. And most people out there, let's just lump them for a second, are going to tell you that you're too scattered and you don't have enough focus. Now, what you're going to have to do to use your humanoid advantage to your benefit, you're going to have to use your awareness with every single thing that you hear, because there's going to be a lot of people that say a lot of different things about business and about you. Now, and you, as this super aware, really investigative, very intelligent, creative, investigative being, are likely going to want to go into what they're saying to find out what's right about it. You're going to be like, well, they're saying it, so there must be something right about it. That's a natural humanoid tendency. So what you need to start to do to use yourself to your advantage is really, really, really exercise your awareness of the energy behind what people are saying. Now, this is an ability that you have because you're humanoid. You're energetically aware. If you shut off that awareness when it comes to things about money and business, then you're always going to feel like you're twisted in a knot, because you're always going to be trying to do things that don't actually function for you, because somewhere you bought that those were the right things, and you're also a control freak and you don't want to be wrong, and you're defending against being wrong because you're sure you're wrong. And so you are trying to make something work that doesn't actually work for you. So to use you to your advantage, you have to strengthen perceiving the energy of what people are saying, because everybody's saying something different about business. And in truth, there's a way that business functions for you. And look at what you mean by business. Like for me, business is, what is business? How do I articulate this? The art of engaging in creative pursuits that create life worth living for me and everyone, and having money. Like, that's really it. That's business. That's like constantly so like with me creating my business, it's a constant exploration of like, how can we reach more people? Like, how many more people want to know about this? Like, what can we put together that would actually invite them to get closer? How many different new aisles can I get on the show where I'm talking about random shit every week? It's this play and discovery and artistic adventure of instituting what I know is possible into the world, so that if it invigorates you or sets something free for you or empowers you in some way, you have access to that choice because I've been willing to put it out in the world. That's business for me. On top of all that, I get to live the way I want, play the way I want, have time the way I want. Like, I get to be as busy as I want or as not busy as I want. It empowers me to live. It empowers you to live. That's business. Okay, cool. So whatever business is for you, right? And of course, I've totally lost my point. Also humanoid. Okay, so here's some things that you need to know about you in order to use you to your advantage. You are very likely also, in addition to being incredibly creative, a control freak. Now, there's so much about that, and maybe there's a whole chapter on that, I wonder. But one of your tendencies is going to be one of the things you've likely practiced throughout your life is control, so that you can handle what you become aware of. Now, this shows up in a billion different ways. Coping and surviving our abilities show up in a myriad of ways. And so I can't say what that is for you, but if you look around your world and you do any control of any sort, if you do a lot of thinking, if you do a lot of doubt, if you do a lot of worry, if you do a lot of figuring out, if you spend hours like mapping it out before you choose anything, that's all control. Okay. So it's not wrong. It's just what you learned. Excuse me. It's very bright in here. My eyes are still healing. But your tendency as someone who has learned a lot of control is to be too ordered. Now, I personally am always dancing between my natural state, which is very chaotic, and my propensity to order the chaos. Order is not the same as organization. Organization is like, I'm looking at the kitchen. When you move house and you've got all this stuff in the kitchen and you want to make a meal, you need to organize it so that you can get creative and make the meal. That's organization. Order is where you try to control everything to obtain a particular result. And order is, we go overboard into order when we haven't been educated on how we function and we've had a lot of havoc in our lives, and we have just, or we've something we've learned, or a number of different things, but your tendency can be to go into order rather than creative chaos. And what allows a business to grow is creative chaos. Now, to support creative chaos, you need systems so that it's not havoc. But got to get about yourself that you might have a propensity to go into order. So like I've actively, honestly, really been working with myself over the last 2 months as I've made a demand of me to not do any more control, to every single time I go into that control energy to like literally pull myself out and expand out and allow other possibilities and other people and beings to contribute. It's a practice that's taken me almost 10 years to get. So I don't expect you to get it from that, but it is one of those things that you may have to actively work with yourself on. Okay. And so, I mean, that is one of the tools. Like as soon as you feel yourself going into control, you're going to have to pay attention to you. You want to like literally zoom back out, expand out and go and relax and allow. Because if you're anything like me, are a great survivor and you got yourself here with control, but that control might actually be hurting your body, making your business smaller, not allowing what can show up to show up, right? Like it may have gotten to a point where it's not serving you anymore. And that's what your humanoid advantage is, being able to choose and change and make a different choice that you have to pay attention to. Okay. So just get that you've got a tendency to control and be ordered. And you might have to work with yourself on that to expand out. Now, even on that one point, it might be worth just zooming out and going, but why? For what reason? Can you create the empire that you know is possible from control? Yes or no? And maybe we should have started the episode with that. I don't even know. This, for me, was the incentive to look at this more closely, this control thing in particular, because I kept, going to classes, hearing myself talk about asking these questions around what does it take to have a greater, bigger business? And every single facilitator would go, well, what would it take to be willing to be out of control? Now, to me, not even to me, that is not a logical response to what does it take to have a greater business. That is an illogical response. That is an other response. But so because it kept coming up, and every single time I'd have a conversation with Gary Douglas about out of control, out of definition, out of linearity, out of concentricity, out of form, structure, and significance, he's like, you guys need to run that every single day, 30 times a day for a year. I finally chose it. Finally, I'm choosing it. Finally, I'm instituting it like 10 years later. But because it would come up so much, I got to look at it over and over, and the more I looked at it, the more I recognized I'm doing total control, total linearity, total definition, total, as if that's a better choice. to achieve what I want to achieve, as if that's the thing that's even gotten me here. You know, if I look at my business trajectory and like what I've created and actively in the last 6 years, if I ask myself, did I do it from control? Yes or no? It's always no. So I'm like, okay, I'm still doing this thing as if that's going to get me where I want to go. But where I've gotten so far wasn't created from control. It was created from choice and awareness and choice and play. And let's see, and let's discover. I had not used awareness to my advantage. I'd not used my humanoid ability for awareness to my advantage there. I'd gone into a decision of what I had decided would get me to where I wanted to go and what I had decided had gotten me to where I am. Not my brightest choice, but as a humanoid, I always have another choice. So I started looking at it different. So the control thing is huge, but you're going to have a tendency to control. You got to know that about yourself. How will you work with you to expand out so that something greater can show up? Okay, here's some more things you need to know about you as a humanoid. You could also be too chaotic, but I think this would be better articulated to say you could also think that havoc is chaos, and it's not. Okay, so just this year, we are in the year 2022. As of the recording of this, I am 46 years old. Star date 2022, age 46. I'm almost 47. Holy shit, that's next month. Okay, channeling Star Trek. So before I lose my point, this year, I finally chose to get completely caught up on all taxes in every country I've ever lived in and to institute a tax planning system for the future. It took me 3 full months of facing it, educating. It probably took me 6 months, if I'm honest, educating myself, choosing things, putting people in place, putting systems in place, putting money towards it. It was a project. But you know, as we chose to move to Panama, which is where we have our residency now, and, you know, let that play out and let that affect us and all that stuff, I sat here in Panama looking at the havoc I'd created in my finances and recognized that if I did not organize the havoc, it was going to create a future that was destructive. I was actually not creating success with that choice. With choosing havoc, I was creating destruction. And, you know, it took me years to be willing to even look at that. But when I say you could tend to create too much havoc, that's what I mean. Most humanoids create havoc from unconsciousness and avoidance, like not really wanting to look at the systems required to support their process. And as a humanoid, this is using you against you. You have this immense ability for chaos. And chaos is this like incredibly generative, creative energy where you just kind of like, you know, you change tracks, you throw energy at things. You're just like, well, let's see what's possible. You're willing to play and create and throw spaghetti at the wall and see what's possible, right? This is an ability. This is not a disability. This is an ability because humans can't do that. Humans like A plus B equals C, and that's all they can do. They literally have like a 2-item menu to play from, but you have an infinite menu to play from. And you get access to that when you become willing to play. You're just like, I don't know, let's see what's possible. I've been doing that all over the business lately with adding languages and global creators and people that I don't even know what their role is, but like they say yes and I say yes. I'm like, okay, let's throw you in and let's see what this is. And that's creative chaos. It adds energies and movement to things that maybe didn't have energies and movement. So this is an ability you have. You can also misidentify and misapply chaos as havoc. You can also do avoidance and defense very easily too, right? We're just powerful. We either powerfully create or we powerfully destroy. And most of our destruction, I would say, comes from avoiding and defending. So havoc. So I had created future destruction from avoiding. And so this year I just changed it. I simply turned around, faced it, and handled it. And that's the thing about us also. This is another humanoid advantage. Once you choose something and handle it, it gets handled in a fraction of the time that you thought you would need, in a fraction of the time anybody else would need, because you're fast. Another humanoid advantage. So, I mean, I handled it fairly quickly. It was like probably 6 months in total for the whole honestly, it was probably like 4 years. But when I turned around and faced it and actually like started pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, stuff like that, it was like 3 months and 6 months at the most. So it didn't really take that long. It just took me being willing. Another humanoid advantage. Once you're willing to face and handle things, they get handled with a lot of ease. So yeah, just get that you probably have a tendency to avoid and defend, and that's your power being used against you. But you can use that same power to get present with and handle. And that speed that you have available to you can create things with a lot of ease. Okay. All right. Here's another thing you need to know about you. You don't do things that you don't think are fun. You just don't do them. Like if it doesn't sound fun to you, if it's not fun to you, you're not going to do them. You're not going to put your energy there. So yeah, this could be something you make yourself really wrong for, because maybe in the beginning you thought it was fun and then it doesn't turn out to be fun. And then, so there's a whole actually conversation about this. I'm realizing, but the important thing to get about you is like, you will not do it if you don't think it's fun. So for example, but then certain things are required. So for example, filing taxes. So with some things you're going to need, even because it's required, because it's a part of the process, you're going to need to find out what's fun about it for you or how to make it fun for you in order to handle it, because you won't do it if it's not fun. And other things, knowing this will give you a lot of clarity about what you can say yes to and what you're like just going to say no to, because you know yourself and you're not going to do anything with that thing, even though it's a good idea, because you don't think it's fun. You don't do anything unless it's fun for you. So this can be used as an excuse or a justification, but you can also use this to generate a really incredible future for yourself. And there's so many more things, but listen, okay, so I'm going to wrap up on that actually, because what I want to invite you to is an intro class and a business done different master class. So there's so many different abilities that you have as what you are, that when you begin to harness them, like identify them, recognize them, acknowledge them, and then harness them, can create an amazing business, an amazing living for you and for everyone. What does that take to get access to that? So I'd like to invite you to an intro class called crystaljoycrawford.com/crafting your empire. If you look at the graphic, it says crafting your hustle, and then I've scratched out hustle and put empire, because I'm like, who wants a hustle when you can have an empire? My point of view. And then a business done different masterclass in June. But honestly, go to accessconsciousness.com/crystalcrawford and you can find any classes that I have on there. Because if you were willing to know you, to be you, to perceive what you can perceive, and to receive what you can receive, would your business and financial reality show up really different? You have advantages that nobody else on this planet has. And the few that I've listed are just the few. They're general advantages. You, as you, also have choices available to you that nobody else has. Are you using you to your advantage? Do you get how you function? Or are you still trying to make yourself function in the way everybody else says you should? Cut that shit out and come discover you, the gift of you, the power of you, the humanoid, infinite being that you are. What would it take to function as that and to find the joy in it? Come play. And if you got anything out of this episode, share. And if you are curious about what's right about you, you're not getting, man, just stay tuned and keep your eyes out for this book. I'm so proud of this book. I'm so excited to get it to you. I'm going to do a pre-sale on it soon. There's so much that's right about us that we haven't known. And man, what else is truly possible? Have a great week. Hopefully I'll see you in a class. And if I don't, I'll